Perfect. Thank you so much, Angel. 1 minute. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and good evening. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. My name is Marissa Mack. I'm the Chair of Economic Development and Culture Committee here at Community Board 11. Hope you all are well. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the meeting. Just a few ground rules before we get started. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participant icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Board members, the chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions and comments distinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subject on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. So we are going to call this meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Angel, if you wouldn't mind, please moving forward with the roll call.
Certainly. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Adem Briha.
Here.
James Horton. Marissa Mack.
Okay.
Giselle Malave.
Present.
Jennifer Meyer.
Present.
Robert Perez. Vinny Torres.
Yeah.
Jenny Tromsky.
Present.
You have quorum.
Great, thank you so much, Angel. And so we will move forward with the adoption of the agenda. If there are any objections, please raise your hand. If none, we will move forward. Okay, seeing no objections, we will move forward. Also would like to adopt the meeting minutes from last month that were provided. If there are any objections or changes needed to the minutes, please raise your hand and state them aloud. If none, we will move forward. Okay, seeing none, we are adopting the minutes. So moving forward on the agenda, are there any initial announcements? Okay, I would just like to actually make a few announcements on behalf of different events that I have attended since our last meeting. So I was able to attend East Harlem Nights, which was held by Union Settlement last Friday, which was an awesome event. Shout out to Jackie Tessman, who worked so hard to put it together. We had a lot of businesses from the community there show out, and a lot of different committees from different sectors of East Harlem. So thank you so much, Jackie, for putting that together. It was a wonderful event. I also wanted to make note of the End Gun Violence rally that took place several weeks ago with the 25th precinct. Keoka Jackson was very instrumental in helping to put that together. We had a number of community advocates there, some elected official, the DA, borough president. We had our chair who was also there, but it was really nice to see everyone kind of stand in solidarity regarding all the violence that's going on, not only in our community, but throughout the city. And I'm sure that there will be further discussions that come out of that rally. So to everyone that was involved, thank you so much for your efforts in showing up and just having a presence around the fact that there's so many people that are impacted by gun violence, whether it's someone you know, someone in your family, a friend, or even just seeing someone on the news, which is now just about every day, but really, really impactful event to attend, and happy to have been there. I also wanted to make note that Uptown Grand Central is looking for individuals to provide testimony as to how clean the streets have been around 125th Street. We know there's a lot that's going on 125th Street specifically, but you know, like throughout the last year, we've had a lot of help from the cleanup corps to help with the cleanup efforts that that Uptown Grand Central is working on. And so there is a petition form that they are sending around to engage individuals and have them provide their testimonies as to why we should continue the cleanup corps. The initiative was actually started under the de Blasio administration, and was set to end, I believe, towards the end of the pandemic, but clearly it's something that we really need around that area, in addition to, you know, other resources. But the cleanup corps and having our streets be cleaned, having Uptown Grand Central supported in that way is extremely important. So I will, or Angel, I'm not sure if you're able to drop in the chat that link that Carrie sent us. If not, we will also pass that around throughout the board and throughout the community, so people can kind of add their 2 cents there to rally around that. And then additionally, our last meeting, for those who were on the call, Dimitri from Urban Garden was on and really, you know, wanted to ensure that the businesses, his business and other businesses under the Park Avenue Viaduct were advocated for and were kind of looked after in the design of the upcoming projects. And so we had a conversation, myself and Angel, along with EDC and MTA, around what that looks like and sort of next steps for him, and also next steps for some of the commercial tenants under the viaduct. So it was a productive conversation. You know, everyone was able to hear points of view. I think, you know, there might be some negotiations as to how we move forward, but again, it was a productive conversation, and we were able to speak freely with MTA and EDC. So just wanted to let everyone know that that actually took place, and that there is conversation around the businesses and also what will happen for the residents that are surrounding the viaduct. So I am going to move on to a union settlement. I know Carrie is not here. It's Wednesday, so she's out on 125th Street doing her thing. Is there anyone here from Union Settlement? I guess that would be Pablo, since Jackie has moved on. Is Pablo on?
I don't see him on, Marissa.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, so we're gonna move on in the agenda. So first we have Jonathan. I see you on. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us. And it was great to speak with you earlier this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Jonathan, you have the floor from Harlem VidCon community.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here. We did build some rapport earlier on in the week, and it was a real pleasure to speak with you. Appreciate what the Economic Development and Culture Committee is doing. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak about something that's very, very important. Just before I get into it, I just want to recognize my assemblyman who happens to be on the line right now. Defer to him and maybe yield if he would like to say something. Assemblyman Clyde Vannell from the 33rd Assembly District happens to be on the call. I certainly would want to yield to him if he had something to say or go first. If not, that's okay too. I'll continue with the presentation out of respect for the chair. So I just wanted to give that opportunity and give a courtesy. I do have a presentation.
Thank you for making that note. And Clyde, if you want to unmute yourself and say anything, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, we'll move on with Jonathan.
Just, thank you for I don't know if my camera's on or not.
Just give us 1 second. I'm promoting you to panelist, and then your camera should work. Should be good now.
I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you for having me and inviting me to this meeting of economic development and culture for Community Board 11. John, thank you for inviting me and here and seeing everybody here meeting. And we understand, the importance of economic development and these different matters. And it's really difficult when we're in a time when, if we look at the last presidential election, every candidate knew the fact and the stat that's so sad that that people of color are going to be worth less than everyone else in the country. So this is why this conversation and topic is so important. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate your words, and looking forward to hearing more from you. But thank you for being here this evening. Jonathan, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much. I do have a deck to share with the committee on tonight. And so I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to go share my screen and pull something up here and just escape out of the full screen mode. And I'm going to get right to it. But yeah, it's really going to be, I'm going to dive right into some things that I know some of you had expressed you were excited to talk about. And so that really made me excited, because Bitcoin is a conversation that many folks are very curious about. And so at this time, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to jump right into what we came here to talk about tonight. Harlem Bitcoin. Let me get into presentation mode real quick, into slideshow mode. Okay, there we go. So so Harlem Bitcoin community really started out. And before I get into it, just wanted to acknowledge one of the co-founders of Harlem Bitcoin is on the call tonight. Jesse, thank you so much for being here and support.
Jonathan,
yes.
Before you get started, it's just showing loading. So I'm not sure if you have a split screen or if it.
Yeah, so I put the presentation in full screen mode. So are you able to see that or not?
I'm only seeing, and someone keep me honest, I'm only seeing loading here. I'm not seeing, it seems like to the left of loading or to the right of loading, maybe the actual screen. If it's a white screen, I don't see that. I only see a portion of it.
Okay, let me try to work on that right quick.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm seeing the same thing, Madam Chair. Yeah, Jonathan, you had it when you first started the presentation. The entire slideshow was on, and you might have done a change. There you go.
Yeah, so maybe if you leave it like that, even if it's not in full presentation mode, we can see that. So we can.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I'll leave it like this. I did it in full screen mode and kind of disappeared, but yeah. So just real quick, Harlem Bitcoin community started out with some enthusiasts about Bitcoin, enthusiasts about money, enthusiasts about the banking system, the traditional finance system. We were all thinking about how can we share this technology, this new technology that is seems this new innovation, this new technology, this new market asset class that is emerging. Bitcoin starts out as a conversation very quickly about this strange internet money, but then it quickly evolves into a conversation about economics, conversations about talks about monetary policy. And so Bitcoin really is a conversation that quickly evolves. And we like to say in Bitcoin, welcome to the rabbit hole. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, you're probably going to continue to go down it. Like I said, Bitcoin is a conversation about money. Bitcoin is a conversation about monetary policy. Bitcoin is a conversation about a lot of things that affect everyday people like you and me. So I'm very happy to talk about it, because whether you believe it or not, Bitcoin is the money that's being used now, and it is an alternative. So to better understand money, we're going to talk about BTC or money, the native token to the Bitcoin network versus the US dollar. And we'll just describe that just real briefly. So Bitcoin, and to understand this, you must understand this digital financial revolution. And what that is the getting away from traditional finance, traditional legacy banking systems, and getting and moving into interacting with digital money. No longer do most folks take dollar bills, some of you may not, and exchanging dollars here and there. We're dealing more so in a digital world. And whether you recognize it or not, Bitcoin is an extension of that. And so people are using their debit cards, people are using Venmo, Cash App, they're using all these digital ways of exchanging money peer to peer. And so what Bitcoin is essentially is digital cash, and it replaces or it builds upon and gives people the ability to exchange cash peer to peer, but it takes away the interaction that you need to be in person. So for example, if I had to give you money peer to peer, face to face, I would have to be right in front of you. You wouldn't need anyone to verify that because you would have it, you'd touch it, you'd feel it. But how do you do that if I'm in a different country and I need to send you value, I need to send you cash over borders? How can you do that? You do that with Bitcoin. And I'll get into that a little bit later. Just wanted to note real quick that this is a one-on-one type of presentation that we do in our meetups, our in-person meetups. And so there's a lot that we're not going to go down the rabbit hole too far tonight, but it is a basic one-on-one. You guys in this space are the type of people I love to speak about, people who have little to no knowledge about what Bitcoin is, people who know or have a relationship with money, but don't really understand how money really works, how it moves. And so very excited to talk a little bit more about that. So again, Bitcoin, it's a new form of money. It's based in digital code. It's based in code. It's a tool. And again, Bitcoin is an alternative to traditional finance, traditional central banking. It is a alternative to traditional payment rails, Visa, MasterCard, Western Union. It's an alternative to a system of money, a system, a network, a monetary network that for so many and for so long has not worked or has been exclusive. Bitcoin is inclusive. And so it is really, as we like to say in Bitcoin, it fixes a lot of problems that fiat or traditional money and traditional banking, where it fails, Bitcoin really picks up on that. Let me talk real quick about based in code, digital. Bitcoin exists all by itself on the internet. And some people have a real tough time dealing with that and grappling with this thought of this money that they can't touch. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that in 15 seconds. Bitcoin is protocol based. It's all digital code, and it is based in a protocol. It's mathematical, it's algorithmic in that it is programmed. It's the first type of money that is pre-programmed in advance in its issuance. And its issuance is finite in that there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. Let me say that again. That's a big, big, big piece of what Bitcoin is when it comes to money, because as we know, the money that we have right now is infinite. The Fed has an infinite hand on its ability to print more money. And Bitcoin is just the opposite. It is finite. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. It's built into the protocol. No one can change it. And if they do change it, it ceases to be Bitcoin. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and I'll take some questions on that. Here's a slide that I love to speak about. I've been to the mountaintop. Dr. King delivered this speech in support of the striking sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee on April 3rd, 1968. And the very next day, he was assassinated. Here's a quote from that. That very impactful, powerful speech. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in Tri-State Bank. We want a bank-in movement in Memphis. That's a direct quote from that speech. And so I see a hand raised. I'm not sure, Madam Chair, if you would like to take, or we wait to the end.
Presentation, yes, and then we'll address questions.
Okay, very good.
I see you when we finish. I'll get to you.
Yeah, and I promise this is a, let me see, this is a 18 or 17 slideshow. It's going to be over very quickly. I promise not to take too much of your time tonight, so we can get into the meat and potatoes of it. Like I mentioned before, Bitcoin is an alternative. It's an open monetary, permissionless network of money. And what that means is, just like back then on April 3rd, 1968, there was a system, and still is today, that is exclusionary. We all know that all finance is not created equal. I made mention earlier of payday lenders and Western unions of the world, Visa, the banks. At any moment, even here in the US, yes, those systems can be closed, your assets, your money can be frozen, and you cannot have any possession of your money anymore. That was the case back in those days, April 3rd, 1968, where Dr. King called really for a bank black movement, a bank-in movement, where he called for people to take control and understand the power of their consumer dollar and move them out of institutions that were not working for them, that were not empowering them, that were being exclusionary. He called them to move them into Black-owned banks, banks that were set up to work particularly for a particular community. And that's not anything different or particularly special. It just, it was something that had not been done and is not utilized as much as it should now. To take control of your money, putting them in institutions that are designed to work for you and your community is something that other communities do. And it was something that Dr. King was calling for his community to do to create change. Bitcoin is an alternative to that. Real quick, I'm going to move on. This next slide is the Bitcoin white paper. And Bitcoin, what's special about it is that it is first to market. What Bitcoin is, I like talking about what Bitcoin is before I talk about what Bitcoin is not. And so anyone could go to, and I'll drop it in the comment section later, Bitcoin is described here by its creator in the Bitcoin white paper, and anyone can take a look at it and read it. It is open network. The one thing about Bitcoin, if we have any programmers or software engineers on the line tonight, Bitcoin is what we call open source. The code is open source. Anyone can take a look at it and jump into it and really pull it apart and see how it works. A quick example of that is Apple iOS operating system and Android. iOS is closed source. It's got its own ecosystem. You can't pull it apart and change it. It's proprietary. Android is open source. Anyone can take a look at it and use it and put layers on top of it and use it in different ways. Okay, native Android, and then there's different layers to it. Bitcoin is open source, but there's only one Bitcoin, there's only one protocol. It can be changed or soft or hard forked, but once it does that, if it's hard forked, it ceases to become Bitcoin, and it becomes all these other alternative coins that we know today. There's literally thousands of them that exist, but there's only one Bitcoin. Okay, sometimes people say crypto. It really shouldn't be used in the same breath, in the same space. Let's talk a little bit about what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is a network. Bitcoin is a store of value. Bitcoin is digital energy. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later if you have questions. Bitcoin is digital real estate. And for all you real estate investors and landowners out there who understand real estate very well, imagine this. If you owned prime real estate downtown Manhattan today, or uptown Manhattan today, or in 1921, and if you held it onto it up until this point, you probably wouldn't sell it. Why? Because it has tremendous value. Now, but one thing that differs between real estate and land is that you get taxed on it. You can have that taken away from you by heirs' rights. Come on, somebody, think about that. Heirs' rights, we know what that is, where your land can be stolen from you, and it has been stolen from certain individuals over the years. You have to have maintenance on property, maintenance on real estate. There could be eminent domain where this property could be taken from you. That cannot happen with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, think of it as pristine real estate that you could pick up and take away and take it cross-border and take it with you and store it cryptographically by owning your own private keys. I said a lot right there, but I'll talk a little bit about what that is. But those of us who understand real estate understand what Bitcoin really is. It is digital real estate. That's what it is. It's one important property of Bitcoin is that one Bitcoin is one of 21 million. So you have $1 and you have 1 penny. 1 penny is 1/100th of a dollar. And same with Bitcoin, you have 1 Bitcoin and you have 1 Satoshi. 1 Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of 1 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is highly divisible. So when people say, oh, it's too far away, it's in the exchange is one right now. I think Bitcoin is trading on exchanges at $20,000 for 1 Bitcoin. People say, oh, it's gotten away. At the height, at the top, it was $69,000 for 1 Bitcoin. People say, oh, it's gotten away from me. I can't afford it. You don't have to buy 1 Bitcoin. You could buy fractions of a Bitcoin. And those fractions are called Satoshi. And of course, the Bitcoin white paper is the author is Satoshi Nakamoto. That is a pseudonym for the person or group of persons who created Bitcoin. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but the creator or the creators have chosen to remain pseudonymous, not anonymous, but pseudonymous. And so they choose to remain this way. But anyone can take a look at the white paper and take a look at what that is. Here's some references. The next couple of slides will be some references that I have, these books I have personally read, these people I personally know, and I have spoken to and have good relationships with as far as talking about what Bitcoin is and building out the community. Bitcoin in Black America is a book that talks about solutions to problems in the Black community and how Bitcoin plays a role in that. And it's a very powerful book. I recommend it highly. The author is Isaiah Jackson, and his Twitter handle is BitcoinZay. And you can find Bitcoin in Black America by going to his Twitter handle, BitcoinZay. Make reference of that. The next book I really recommend is a book written by Jan Pritzker, one of the co-founders of Swan Bitcoin, which is a really good exchange to use. And we'll talk about the difference between an exchange and a wallet maybe a little bit later. But Inventing Bitcoin is literally the breakdown one-on-one, short, quick read, maybe 100+ pages of what Bitcoin is. And it really speaks to the nuts and bolts of what Bitcoin is. And I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. It's not technical, yet it talks about the technical aspect of what Bitcoin is. Highly recommend it. The author's name is Jan Pritzker. He's co-founder of Swan Bitcoin. And he also goes by, has a Twitter handle, SKWP. You can find him on Twitter. Please make—
Jonathan, I'm just going to jump in one minute, just because I really want to know more about what your organization specifically does or what your offering is. And I think maybe people can connect with you to find out more about the resources. We just want to get to the meat of what you do, how you're connecting with the community and all of that. So yeah, if we could move in that direction, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, great, sure. Thanks for that. That was a little nudge there. I get it. Nicely done, Madam Chair. So what Harlem Bitcoin does, we are an educational entity, essentially. Our only motivation or incentive is to help people understand money better, help people understand what this new technology and what this innovation is. We hold in-person meetups, educational meetups. We believe at Harlem Bitcoin that all everything begins and ends with education. And so Harlem Bitcoin and Harlem just merely being a signal. We know that historically, Harlem has been the epicenter of entrepreneurial and business. And so we intend to move to the other boroughs, Queens Bitcoin, Staten Island Bitcoin, Brooklyn Bitcoin, Bronx Bitcoin. But we started in Harlem. Most of the founders are from Harlem. I'm, of course, from Southeast Queens, but it doesn't matter. But our main focus is to create community. Harlem Bitcoin community is exactly that. It's a group of enthusiasts who want to help educate people on what money is, to help people become financial literate, and to help people understand the power of money and with that education, make better financial decisions, to lower your time preference and have people change their behavior and how they interact with their money and make better decisions. And that's really what it is. We are a space, educational space, a traveling educational space, and where we help the education people. So the most of what we do is doing what we do right here, educating spaces and moving into working with people who want to learn more about Bitcoin. Real quick, we very quickly wind up moving into not policy, but working with local elected officials to help them understand. We want to speak to activists, incumbent legislators. We want to work with candidates running for office, policymakers, legislators alike, to help them understand what Bitcoin is so they can speak about it in a real robust, comprehensive way, so they can learn and begin to understand what this is and how it can empower people. We believe that Bitcoin is a tool that can improve humanity. No other time in the course of humanity has we've had a hard money that is inclusive, an open monetary network that is permissionless. Anyone can participate, whether you have 100 Bitcoin or whether you have 1 Satoshi. The person who has 100 Bitcoin does not have any more power or any more privilege than the person that has even one 100 millionth of a Satoshi. And that is a very powerful, hard economic position that humanity has never seen before. And so those who have the coins usually have all the power, and that cannot exist due to the decentralized nature of what Bitcoin is and what this technology works. And I'm so willing, I'm happy to explain how that works going forward. But that's really a little bit about what Harlem Bitcoin is, and it's nothing more than that. It's an educational space. So hopefully that made sense. And yeah, that's it. That's basically what that is.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, in you sharing about this, clearly there's a deeper understanding. I know that there are, we have people from all walks of life on this call here, right? So there are some people who are familiar with Bitcoin and, you know, have been involved in, you know, either purchasing or what have you, dealing in Bitcoin. And then there are others that, you know, do not have any knowledge at all, right? And so there's a little bit of everyone on this call here today. I think my biggest question to you would be, you know, what are ways that we can, you know, help and support you? What have you done? But really, you know, what can we do as a board to get your name out there? And then also just a quick question, you know, I know for investments and banking in certain worlds, you have to be somewhat certified, right? Is there a certification that's needed in order for you to really spread the word about Bitcoin and you know, let people know about, you know, what to do? I know you're not necessarily saying what to invest or how to invest or what have you, but you know, is there some sort of accreditation that you need in order to kind of spread the word? And if so, is that something that you have as well?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Marissa, Madam Chair. So first of all, anything I say, of course, is not financial advice, number one. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Number two, I want to repeat again, Harlem Bitcoin really has no pleasure in getting our name out. We don't want any recognition. We want to help educate people. How can you support us? You can support us, which is the community, by supporting Assemblymember Clyde Vanell's bill. And that bill is a study bill. And I'm not going to speak too much more about it. I would love for the Assembly member to speak about it. A9275. It is a cryptocurrency and blockchain study bill. And he has very masterfully put together this bill to help the state and in the world. We know if it happens in New York, if we could do it here, we could do it anywhere, to really get a great understanding of what Bitcoin is, what the technology is, what the cryptocurrency impact is on energy and sustainable energy sources. This bill is essential. It has passed the Senate and the Assembly. It's on its way, or if not already, ready to be signed by the governor. But I don't want to go too much into that. The Honorable Clyde Vanell is here. I would love for him to speak a little bit about that, if it's his pleasure, if he would like to. But yeah, that's how you could support us per se, is by by getting, we know if we don't do politics, politics are going to do us. And that, so civic engagement is another piece of what Harlem Bitcoin does. It helps connect the dots between helping people realize that civic engagement, building community is essential to getting policy passed that affects people's everyday lives. And certain cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin in particular, is it's the here and now. It's not something of tomorrow. This technology is here right now. The market cap on Bitcoin is in the billions, okay? And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why major corporations have millions of dollars worth of it on its balance sheet. And so it's important that we really talk about this in a robust way. And that is the main purpose of Harlem Bitcoin.
Okay, so I understand. I would ask that in terms of the bill number, and if that's something that you would like for the committee to look into and see if individually they would like to support, I would encourage you to drop that information in the chat, along with any links to the further information, and that way people can look up the bill specifically and see if this is something that they are able to further look into. I would also drop any information on Harlem Bitcoin within the chat as well, so people can look that up. I'm going to go to Vinny and then Giselle quickly, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Jonathan, thank you for that presentation. I can certainly feel your passion, brother. And I'm someone who is very passionate about the work I do, so I really do appreciate it. I would like to say that, cryptocurrency really shadows a lot of concerns among our community. There are many of us that really don't have the proper information. I can appreciate, again, your presentation, although it seems, listening to you, complex and confusing even to kind of follow this when you start talking about mathematical and algorithms. And some of what else you mentioned. Ironically, earlier today I was watching a news show that talked about how cryptocurrency is basically fool's gold for many people, and tens of millions of people have tremendously lost a lot. Some of which have lost it and been completely wiped out of their life savings. Right, but certainly interested in looking at the bill you mentioned, and also some of what Harlem Bitcoin is about related to civic engagement. I think there's certainly much more in our community for a lot of our community folks that we need to do. So I just wanted to ask, does Harlem Bitcoin provide any seminar? Is there something else you guys are doing outside of tonight's presentation that can actually maybe provide more information for those that may be interested in this? Because there certainly seems to be a lot of lack of knowledge about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and is that something that you guys as an organization can provide? Because I think after listening to you tonight, it would be something that many people would need more information about.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Torres, for that question. Absolutely, everything you said is really hammered down everything that we're really all about. We are about education. We understand that there's this curiosity about what this strange internet money is. And so that's exactly what we do. We provide education. We do live in-person meetups, virtual meetups. We just held a Twitter space earlier on today where we were fortunate enough to speak with the legislative director of Assemblyman Clyde Vannell. He was on this Twitter space. He broke down, the purpose of the space was to explain the bill and break down why the bill is important and to get people to support this bill. But Harlem Bitcoin is not only just about political and community engagement, although that is necessary. We found it necessary that we must engage this way. Harlem Bitcoin is all about education. We provide resources. We have a website, harlembitcoin.com. We also have a Telegram, a Bitcoin community there. We have a Telegram. All that is on our website. We have a meetup that meetup.com where you can go, you can see our meetups and you can link and connect with us there. We're doing education as best as we can, as hard and fast as we can to get the information to the people. We understand that this thing, listen, I'm not a software engineer by trade, okay? To be quite honest with you, I'm a New York City firefighter, all right? That's what I do. That's by way of profession. This is what I do. And so, I'm not technical in that way in my training, but believe me, if I could do it, if I could learn, you could learn too. And it's really a conversation about money. And so that's what it's about. And Brother Torres, if you connect with us, just simply go to harlembitcoin.com. I will certainly put my Twitter handle in the chat, and we can connect that way. I'll put my phone number. I'll do that right now. I'll be working on that right now. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Brother Torres.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Giselle quickly, and then Assemblymember Fennell, if we just want to just quickly say 2 seconds about the bill, and then we're gonna move on. But Giselle, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan, for your presentation. I was actually very excited when I heard you were going to be on the agenda, because I had a customer school me on what Bitcoin was, and we got into close to like a 2-hour conversation. So that led me to want to look more into it as well. And I feel like
we went down the rabbit hole, as they say.
Yes. And I agree with Vinny that unfortunately in communities like ours, we understand very little about money. So I would encourage you to, hit the streets and talk to people, residents about, and introduce, the idea that you guys have, because I feel like education is key, regardless to, what you're talking about. But in this case, it intrigued me. I found it very interesting. I'm sure others will. So thank you for your time and your presentation.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. That's what we're doing. Hitting the streets is what we're doing right here, right now, right here tonight. I'm so thankful to Madam Chair, Marissa Mack, for allowing me to present. In the email thread, there were some folks there that were like, oh, we wanted to put this on the agenda for September. So there is this curiosity, and it's there. And so we're creating that space. And so we do Twitter Spaces. We have a Clubhouse that we, if you're familiar with the drop-in audio platform called Clubhouse, we're there on the Black Bitcoin Billionaires. I co-moderate a space on the Black Bitcoin Billionaires. If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'd like to do a couple of shameless plugs. Seems like people are interested. They want to know where they could go. You mind if I do a couple of shameless plugs?
So if you don't mind, if you could just drop it, because we have a few other presentations, but if you could drop all information in the chat, that would be helpful. I did want to just allow space for the Assemblyman just to say something quickly about the bill. But anyone that's here will be able to connect with you further. Also, I would add, if you have a flyer or something that we could share with the greater community, we're happy to do that as well, just to get the word out. And then even others that aren't on this call can also connect with you, if you don't mind. So I'm gonna go to Assemblymember Vanel, and if you just want to say a few things about the bill, and then we're gonna move on, but please drop whatever information you have in the chat, and then we will also share out on your behalf to the greater East Harlem community.
Thank you so much.
First of all, I have to recognize, first of all, Madam Chair, I'm jealous of Community Board 11 in Manhattan. Brother Logan, you got to get this in Queens. I don't understand how we're not doing this in Queens.
We are.
But it's really important to show that this economic development committee is working on what the future of tomorrow, what tomorrow looks like. And John, you did a really great job, explaining what Bitcoin is and what monetary policy is. Overall, we must understand how money works and how the economy works. And again, it's about educating, right? This is not, I hope people don't think this is, and John made it clear that this is not financial advice. It's about educating us. And we as a people of color, are usually afraid to talk about money and finances. As a matter of fact, today, Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, came out and raised the interest rates by almost 1 whole percentage point, by 0.75%, by 0.75%. They made money more expensive. What does that mean, right? What does money mean? How does the money? And one of the things that's really important to understand what Bitcoin is, what cryptocurrency is people don't understand what money is, right? We have to understand what money is, right? In 6000 BC, we started with, and I'm not gonna go into it too much, but in 6000 BC, we started with bartering.
But yes.
We started with bartering, but what is money, right? What is our paper money? What is that backed with? When did people remember in the 1971, we moved off of the gold standard. Now, what is our money? How much is our money worth? What is the value of money? Why is it valued the way it's valued? We have to understand that in order to understand what Bitcoin is and these kind of things. But it's really important for us to be educated. I have a bill to try to put together a task force to help New York through, to understand this, to understand what this industry is, but also to be able to close the digital divide. Also to be able to make sure that we close what we call unbanked and underbanked. Many people in our communities are underbanked, and these technologies can help close that gap. So we're hoping that the community contacts the governor to urge the governor to sign the cryptocurrency digital task force bill to be able to make sure that we close the digital divide and we learn about these things. And I love the efforts that you're doing, John, around the city. Really important.
Perfect. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's important to know, if this is something that we're going to rally around, what the specific topic is. Underbanked communities, communities that, are kind of deserts for, ways of banking, right? Or are only able to use check cashing as a method of banking is not true banking, right? And so having that bill is amazing. I'm going to go to our community board chair, Xavier Santiago, and then we're going to move on and wrap up the discussion. But Xavier, please go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to come on camera briefly. We've unfortunately got a bit of bad news in my family, so I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. The one thing about this, and I find very interesting, because I think awareness for people by POC and understanding finance is also understanding the risk of financial, and that Bitcoin is currently not financially regulated, and it's a very much a high risk reward ratio. And I think also, in addition to that, there's the issue too, and I think education is a great way to go about it. And I think so many people, and I hope that, and I will reach out later, but I hope that in consideration, looking and advising and educating people on, being aware of those that are doing pump and dump and things like that. And so we understand the various components within Bitcoin, within, say, credit unions and all the like, and how we look at modern day banking today as it is currently evolving. And especially as we see how the market took a massive hit, and one of those most hit was Bitcoin, for example. Again, not opposed to it. So these are just some of the issues to keep in mind right now. So thank you very much. Look forward to reaching out and having another conversation about this. And thank you for the efforts.
Thank you so much, Xavier, and thank you, Jonathan and Assembly Member Ronell, for presenting this evening on this information. I think everyone is looking to hear more, at least get more information about, what it is and how to, to look more into Bitcoin and get more educated on this topic. So thank you both for presenting, and we will look into the information you provided, and if there's anything else that you want to share, please share with us so that we can share out with the community.
Will do. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'll definitely all my information, and our co-founder Jesse Cervantes has also been providing some reference in the chat. If you need to reach us, definitely go to harlembitcoin.com. You'll get all the information there when we're going to be meeting up, and all the education that we'll be providing. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you both. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. So I just wanted to note, as we move on, I'm not sure if there's anyone that was on the call this evening specifically for the Chipotle conversation. They will not be joining us this evening. Angel and I both had a chance to respond to them and ask that they move swiftly in regards to setting up a future meeting to discuss their potential location on 116th Street. So just wanted to make that note, just in case anyone is on the call specifically waiting for that conversation. That will not happen this evening. So moving forward, we do have Eugene Rodriguez. Eugene, thank you so much for your patience and waiting here to present the El Barrio Theater Group. If you currently have the floor just to discuss a little bit further with us. I know that you came to our full board and had a presentation at that time, but please, yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, and guests. My name is Eugene Rodriguez. I'm the most successful New Rican playwright that nobody knows. And I have been working with Assemblyman Gibbs to designate East Harlem as a cultural district. And he graciously has put in a bill to that effect. The bill number is, I'll get it for you right now, is where is A09851. And it designates the area from 96th Street to 125th Street from the park to the river as a cultural district. Why are we asking for this, you might ask? I'm currently working on trying to make East Harlem a theater district, and designating East Harlem as a cultural district is the first step to that end. It's an economic development program based on culture. If you had been working with empowerment zone, they had designated cultural tourism as a big moneymaker. And we have 5 main stage theaters in the neighborhood that are totally underutilized. And I think this designation will get people to pay attention to what we're trying to do in East Harlem. I'll take any questions on the bill. If you want me to read the bill, I'll have that.
Okay, is there anything else that kind of sums up your presentation? I think I had a few questions, and not sure if this is something that has already been done in regards to research around this, or how specifically this would bring additional business to the community. So I'm not sure if just designating the area. I think that it's something that should be done and that we should definitely look into. Is there any, study around the fact that just designating an area will bring additional business, or is there other work behind this as well?
Senator Serrano has a bill designating districts across the state as cultural districts, which would open the taps of money for small cultural organizations who presently don't have that much money. We have to compete with the whole state to get money from the state. Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of money in the state. Senator Serrano designated culture as economic development. So if cultural money is a small pot, whereas economic development money is huge. And if we can get into that pot of money by designating East Harlem as a cultural district, I think then we can fund a lot of the small cultural organizations in the community who are presently starving to death. The only study that I've seen is from Serrano, and he has said that for every $1 that's spent in the theater, and we have 6 of them with 1,200 seats, $12 is pumped into the local economy. And that means any tourism related business in the community would benefit from us creating a theater district in the neighborhood. Did I answer your question, Madam Chair?
Yeah, no, actually, and I wanted to say I applaud this because yes, having theaters that are underutilized and not used is not helpful to the community overall, right? Obviously, there are spaces where creativity could live. We had during COVID, Broadway was more or less, shut down or was shut down. And so, to revitalize everything, the revitalization could also take place, within this community as well. If we have, a number of theaters that are not being utilized, it would be great to see them activated again. I think my question to you is, what else is around? I don't think just calling it, cultural district will automatically just draw the business there, right? And so I guess my question is, in addition to to moving this forward and having this area designated as a cultural area, what is the thought behind this? What's the further thought behind this? Is it, now that it's cultivated, you'll be able to tap into funds, which that seems like that's something that you'll be able to do, which maybe you weren't able to do before. Is there going to be a cultural coalition that's specifically targeted to ensuring that there are artists and that there are events similar to, kind of what they did with the Apollo. The Apollo was struggling for a while and they did like a whole revamp. And now you have all different types of artists coming, further uptown to perform. But what is the, after it's named a cultural district, what is the, legwork or the areas that are being activated to actually cultivate the district?
Oh, I've been working for far too long for me to talk about right now, to create the theater district in the neighborhood. So I have put together, I'm currently working on putting together a business plan, a 4-point business plan that will create a theater district, and it would be open to everyone. It's renting the theaters now, getting the city, because the city owns 2 of the theaters, and they don't even have to pay money. They just have to waive the rent on their 2 theaters, which is the huge theater at the Museo del Barrio and the other theater at the Miriam Colón Valle Playhouse, which is in the Julia de Burgos, which we recently got designated by that name. We rent the theaters, we rehab them or we refresh them, lights, sound, seats, outdoor signage, stuff like that, which is not a whole lot of money, but we can get state money to do that, which they have a pot that we can hit. Then we have to program each one of those theaters, I say 3 nights a week, 52 weeks a year, which we can do if we do showcase performances in each theater. Showcase performances, 12 performances, which is a month. So you do, I like Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 4 weeks. That's a showcase. And at the end of the 4 weeks, another group comes into the theater and does their show. I have told everybody that my company maybe can do 1, maybe 2 productions a year, but I know 10 or 15 other small groups that can do 1 or 2 productions a year. And that way we can fill up all the theaters in the neighborhood. The other thing that's great about East Harlem, which I've been trying to explain to people, is that you have a 99-seat theater in Julia de Burgos. And my proposal works on half of the house being open. I'm not going to say we're going to sell out, but I do think that you can at least, for the first few years, guarantee half of the house. So at half of each theater, you can generate almost $60 million into the community. And the theater at 99-seat theater at the Julia de Burgos can feed the 300-seat theater at Taino Towers. And if you start filling up Taino Towers, we have a 600-seat theater at the Julia at the Museo del Barrio, which you can fill up half the house with what the audience you already have at Taino Towers. And last but not least, if you start filling up the theater at the Museo del Barrio, which is 600 seats, it's time to take that baby to Broadway. And I would like to let everybody know that Chorus Line began in the Heckscher Theater at the Museo del Barrio. Mama, I Want to Sing played 2,000 performances at the theater at the Museo del Barrio. We can duplicate that. And if it goes to Broadway, if you know anything about Hamilton began at the Public Theater. The Public Theater began in East Harlem. And the Public Theater gets 10% of the gate that Hamilton makes. So that's almost $1 million. That's almost $1 billion that they're going to generate, and they get 10% of that. We can duplicate that in East Harlem. by working the small theaters we have and feeding the successful shows to a bigger theater and then a bigger theater and then take it to Broadway. So those at half of capacity, that pumps $60 million into the local economy. I mean, and that's accepted by state and local governments across the country, that figure.
Well, thank you for sharing that information. I definitely think in terms of jobs and resources, having that or these spaces really incubated and developed will be helpful for our community, and definitely in terms of the arts and culture aspects of our area. That would be great in terms of revitalizing that as well. I guess I would open it up now. I have a few other questions, but I don't want to monopolize the questions for this. And I think this is something that we could definitely continue to discuss in September as we break for the summer and just look at further. But I wanted to open it up for any other questions for committee members in regards to the district. I know Xavier had also mentioned this previously, and so I just didn't know if there was anything else that people wanted to express in terms of this moving forward and or discussion on this.
I would request that the committee vote on supporting the bill today so that it can go up before the bill on the 21st, because there is some time constraints as to whether the bill actually passes in the state. I'm currently working with Serrano for him to support it on the state side. But I think a resolution from Community Board 11 will go a long way toward making that a reality. Now, I'm not thinking that this will pass, but if we make a resolution now, whoever wins the election on the 28th, I think they will support the bill also.
So I know that during our full board, we had a little bit of conversation around that, and there was some discussion as to the sector. I know that you said it wasn't inclusive of everyone, but there was also some discussion from a lot of other electeds as to their support around this. And I would like to, before we move forward, and just get some more understanding and clarity around that, before we take a motion to, support or not support the initiative, which is very clearly, would be beneficial. I don't see any, downfall to this, but I think it's also important for us to just recognize that, there are other areas, even within the greater Harlem, that are also not being utilized as well, and what that looks like. So understanding that there's a need here, there's no disagreement here, right? That we have spaces that are not being used that need to be accelerated and need to be supported so that we can have a more vital cultural section of East Harlem. I think that there's still some discussion around the actual support of it, the area. Would love to hear from Serrano as well on this. I feel that we've had others that have been a champion for this, and it would be great to hear from him, or Eddie as well, if possible, on this. And so I think this is a discussion that we can continue further, but wanted to hear from you specifically, as I know you were at full board and the discussion was somewhat sent this way.
Yeah, it was sent to committee. I could have gone for a second and get it discussed at the community board meeting, but the chairman asked me to send it to committee and I agreed with that. I am in a unique position. Assemblywoman Dickens, did I get that right? Yeah. Her only opposition was that they don't get the cultural district in Harlem. I mean, she's an assemblyman. She could put the same bill in herself. She can piggyback on this machine. And I don't speak for Harlem. I speak for East Harlem only. And, I would love for them to be designated a cultural district, and she should put the bill in. So I haven't heard any opposition from anywhere about this bill, other than that it was put in by Assemblyman Gibbs. And that's a political problem, which I don't think we need to get into. But like I said, if Community Board 11 supports this bill, whoever becomes the next assemblyman is going to support it too.
I mean, I don't know that's a wide statement to say. I don't necessarily see why they wouldn't, but I don't know that we can just say whoever it is going to do that per se. But I appreciate the enthusiasm and the optimism for that. I don't see why they wouldn't, but I don't think we could just make that assumption. Xavier?
Yes, just a quick point of clarification. Sorry, in full disclosure, I'm having to quarantine my entire family. We had a positive case. So I'm right now one of the negatives, but only time will tell. So I'm right now off camera. At full board, yes, as a parliamentarian, I can tell you that yes, I could have called for a second. The recommendation, I appreciate you respecting it, Eugene, is that our board has anything that has come before the full body typically will not pass it when it is new business. And I did not want to see something that has good intentions and merits not go through the due process of going through the committee. So that's really what it is. I will give deference to the chair of this committee and how she conducts her committee. I would like, that's just the one point I want to clarify. I think we're all kind of aligned on advancing the arts and culture and getting what many have said for decades we rightly deserve. As it comes to Senator Serrano, he has been invited multiple times since January to come attend this specific committee to speak on the Senate version of this bill. And he has yet to, I've had more conversations with his chief of staff. He has yet to been willing to show up. And there's always typically a budget, and then it was still in Albany. So there were a series of different reasons why. But there were more extensions than I can shake a stick at. So I just wanted to clarify that. So without knowing, and the last thing his chief of staff said is that it has not been scheduled to come before committee. That was the only thing. I think his name is George, is it? I don't recall. But in our last conversation last month, he said it hadn't been scheduled yet for discussion. So that's the information I have. If anything's changed, I'll leave it with the committee to have that further discussion. And my one recommendation, as we spoke over the weekend, Eugene, and I would ideally, and again, thank you for presenting. If there's a way to generate a universal position through a resolution, which is a recommendation I made when we spoke, that can not only go to the state and speak to the state, but the city and to the federal level, which is, I think we ultimately do want to have access to some federal funding at some point. So I think it's about the long-term planning and how this all fits in with our ultimate goal versus making multiple steps and not knowing what the left and right hands are doing. So that's really it. I think we're all aligned, and we want to, as Spanish, planta la bandera, right? Plant the flag, and we want to do it. We absolutely do it, and I want to make sure we do it the right way. So we're grabbing Gillibrand and Schumer, and we're grabbing our assembly members, and they're seeing, and the senators and our council members, and they're all seeing the mayor that we have purchase and we have power. So that's really what I
completely agree with you. Thank you. I agree with you. I think that one thing that we can do is actually take a look at this bill. I have not been able to read it in depth completely, but I think before we vote or move forward, we look at specifically, what it is, how it encompasses, our community. Of course, we are in support of the arts and culture, theater in all different ways. I think we want to ensure that when we're voting, we are knowing that we're not just voting for a title of something, that it's actually an activation of an area. And so I would, ask that the committee take a look at the bill and review, and we can put this as one of the first things on the agenda for September, and kind of go from there. We are out of, we do not meet July and August. So this is our last meeting before we break for the summer. But I would like to continue, this conversation and see where we land in September. And if there's anyone that has any other views on that or would like to speak on that behalf, please please feel free to speak now. Otherwise, we will see how we can further this conversation at that time. So I'm not seeing any hands, Eugene. So I wanted to thank you for giving a little bit more context. Again, we've had Xavier present on this previously, but happy to have you add additional information for our committee and give us some details on what that specifically would look like. And I think that, you know, in September, we can have a further discussion and see where we land in terms of a vote and a letter of support resolution.
You know, we do have a community board meeting on the 21st.
That's a full board meeting.
Yes.
This is our last committee meeting. So there's
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get a motion on that from this committee meeting. So
I understand. We're gonna move that until September so that we can get some more information. We don't want to just push this through just to push it through because we have a final meeting at the end of the month. Okay, so I'm not seeing any hands. So Eugene, thank you. And we will, again, we will take a look at this in September. You are happy to come to our full board, which will be on the 21st, as you mentioned.
you do know I'm a member of the board now, right?
I do not. I did not learn all the members of the board, new members. So congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing you then.
So at my first board meeting, I made the motion. Okay.
There you go. There you go. So we will see you at full board. Congratulations on being on.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so do we have any old business here from anyone on the call? I do see Alexis. I saw that you sent me a text. Is there anything that you wanted to mention in regards to Classical Theater of Harlem? So
There I am. Can you hear me?
Very low.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So just wanted to let everybody know, we start preview July 5th, opening night July 9th, with 12th night starring Kara Young, who was nominated for a Tony on her work in Clyde's. We are working with Union Settlement for our summer youth employment program, and with Harlem Park to Park and Uptown Grand Central on a vendor pop-up program that will run Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays during the month of the run. I will put my email in the chat and the link to Classical Theater of Harlem's website so you can reserve tickets. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Alexis. And again, you know, throughout this year, it's been great for us to further partner together and build some synergies around not only the pop-up shop, but then also summer youth employment and then connecting with Union Settlement. So it's good to see that you guys are all engaged within the community on all different levels. We are very happy to work with you.
Happy to work with you guys too. More to come.
Absolutely. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? So any new business? Jenny?
Thanks, Marissa. It's not really new business. I just wanted to know where the board was at with thinking about in-person meetings for next year. I just have no idea kind of what the thinking is, if it's virtual still indefinitely, or if there's going to be some move back to being in person.
The man of the hour just came on screen. I was like, hey, Joel.
Hello. Hey, Jenny. So we passed a resolution last month on being able to do hybrid meetings. So we were on pace to going back to in-person meetings for the board members. I'll share the reso because it's like many stages, but essentially hybrid meetings which would require board members and committee members to be in person, with some exceptions under certain categories, and the public and presenters could participate remotely. We passed that last month. The one caveat that was the one kind of but that was allowed to us is that each time, in the case that either the mayor or the governor extends or enacts an emergency declaration, then under that, under the during the term of that declaration, then we're able to hold fully remote meetings. So, for example, after we passed the reso last month, we were planning to have our last, being able to have our last fully remote meeting this month, and then returning to going to hybrids starting in September. But Governor Hochul just issued an extension of her disaster declaration like 2 days ago. So now we have until the 17th of July. So if we were to schedule, like our budget committee is scheduling a meeting in July. So as long as it comes before the 14th of July, they're able to do fully remote. If it had been after that, then we would be going to hybrid. So kind of a long-winded answer, but we're going to be, for the most part, in person, with some, options for hybrid under certain circumstances. But I'll send you a copy of the reso that explains what all the steps are. And it was per the state order and the advice of the law department for the city. So all the community boards passed similar resos.
Thanks, Angel. I was just curious as to where we were with that, and that's a really complete answer. Thank you.
Now I can go back off camera. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Jenny, for your question. Thank you, Angel, for giving the breakdown. Very important question. I'm sure that we will discuss further at full board, and people will have questions at that time. I'm happy about the time this evening. So for our last meeting before we break, we're getting out a lot earlier than usual. And I don't want to hold us any further, but I did just want to thank everyone on the committee, and actually just do a rundown of some of the things that we've done this year and some of the ways that we've supported the community. So we provided a letter of support to Manny Vega for the Tito Puente artwork. We advocated for the continuation of the Restaurant Resiliency Program. We met with the representative and ED of BNYC for Black entrepreneurs in New York City. We provided a list of requests for partnerships and give back to Drive Shack, which we will follow up with in our next fiscal year in September. We worked through district needs recommendations, including workforce development, affordable housing support for cultural initiatives, and partnerships within the community. We supported the Caribbean Cultural Center and their relocation to what is now 1 East 125th Street, and they are getting acclimated in their new space. We also advocated for hiring in 1 East 125th Street, which is taking place currently. We wrote a letter of support for Cleanup Corps and supporting the work of Uptown Grand Central to keep 125th Street clean. We co-hosted a session with legal aid on commercial leases and protecting businesses. Also co-hosted a RAT Academy with Uptown Grand Central a few weeks ago. We supported the work of the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce and their small businesses doing door-to-door engagement. We advocated for housing specifically for artists. We provided recommendations for the DA regarding safety of businesses in the community. We connected further with EDC and MTA on the Park Avenue Viaduct, along with the 2nd Avenue subway, and addressed concerns for residents, business, and work plans for deeper impact within the community. We connected with the MAP program and partnered with them regarding resources to develop within the community. We provided a letter of support for engagement for Youth Construct. We directly worked with Classical Theater of Harlem. Thank you, Alexis, still on this call, and work with them on their pop-up shop and summer youth employment initiative within the community. And we wrote a letter of support supporting El Museo and the continuation of funding for their programs. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think sometimes as we go through the month and we just go through our meetings, it's hard, or it's hard to remember like what we're doing or how we've supported. There's definitely more to be done. There's definitely more that we can do. Always open. I think I've connected with all of you throughout the year at some point in time, but always open to hearing your ideas and suggestions. And if there's anything that you want to do specifically, to be more impactful on the board, always willing to hear from you and talk to you. But I just wanted to highlight that just so that you guys feel energized and know that you mattered in this community and you mattered in this space, and we all work together to make an impact this year in various ways. And so I just wanted to say thank you all, and just open it up if there's anything that anyone else wants to say. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up. I think, is it before 8 o'clock? It's like a record. But otherwise, I will see you in September. Jenny, I see your hand.
Yeah, I don't want to keep us super long, but I just want to say thank you so much, Marissa. Your leadership is phenomenal. You're the best committee chair that we've ever had. And I just really appreciate getting to spend time with you and kind of, just seeing you do your thing every month. It's really inspiring. And I really appreciate the rundown of all the activity that the committee has done. I think it's so important to keep sight of that big picture. And I think you are brilliant at doing both connecting with individual community members and keeping an eye on the details, while also keeping us very steered in a big picture way as well. So thank you. I just really appreciate you.
Jenny, thank you so much. And I actually, I want to say thank you to the committee, and I really want to say, a special thank you to Giselle, who's the vice chair. She is amazing, and she's on like 10 committees. I'm like, girl, she's awesome. And then of course, Rachel, who is really running this board.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you. I want to extend my gratitude to you as well. It would not have been possible if I wouldn't have had you right there next to me, picking up my phone calls and answering my text messages. So thank you so much for all your help. Thank you, Angel, and have a great summer, everyone.
Have a great summer. Thank you so much, Angel. We can't do any of this without you. So thank you for being just like an amazing resource to this community, and for all your help, and for our meetings, our impromptu meetings, and text messages from me in the middle of the day.
I'm happy to help, guys. Good job.
Have a wonderful summer. I will see you obviously at full board, but thank you for your work this year, and take care. Oh, roll call.
We need you roll call. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like,
bye. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do it quick. Adem.
Bye. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
James is not here. Marissa.
Present.
Giselle.
Present.
Jennifer.
Present.
Robert.
Present.
Vinny.
Present.
That was Jenny. Vinny.
Presente.
There you go. All right. Good night, everybody. All right, let's turn this off. Stop. Oops. Stop recording.